Hello, America. Welcome to 2021, a year in which we hope, pray, and in some ways, maybe even expect to be better than 2020. Because how could things get worse, right? Right? Yeah, you see that picture of what happened a couple days ago. As you all know, unless you've been living under a rock or in your bunker or in a shack someplace in the mountains where you probably should stay because it's safer for you, we had a bit of a riot at at the D.C. Capitol. Now, given what happened in 2020, this isn't really that big a surprise. We've seen riots from May all the way through on New Year's Eve, even in Seattle. What was different this time, for once, for the first time in the last 12 months, actually for the first time in the last 4 years that President Trump has been in office, people, reportedly conservatives and supporters of Donald Trump, were the ones rioting. They broke into the Capitol, they went into the chamber, they went into offices. A woman who was a Trump supporter was shot and killed by Capitol Police. They're not really talking about that much right now, possibly because the woman who was killed, at least in appearance, looks like she's white. So, of course, Democrats don't really particularly care about that. Now, what does this have to do with the Business Intercept? Because as I always say in all my other videos, this channel is really about business, about entrepreneurship, about, what's going on in the country, stories that you don't get to because of major stories like this. And the answer is, A, we can't hide from things like this, and B, this is already having an effect on business because, ladies and gentlemen, the purge has begun. Yes, and when I say the purge, I don't just mean from Twitter and Facebook, which anyone who happens to be a supporter of Donald Trump somewhat expected that once January 20th hit, Twitter was probably going to get rid of his account. Now they have an excuse to try to do these things ahead of time. Now, before I get into the business side of this, which is the second reason why this is important, let's get a few things straight right now. And I will be forwarding this video to a couple of senators and congressmen, but just so they might have an idea of what some of us are thinking out here. Donald Trump, at no point in his speech at the rally, directed people to go into the Capitol building. He did not tell them to riot. He did not tell them to ignore police. He did not tell them to assault police. He did not tell them to vandalize. He didn't tell them any of that. Now, that's in stark contrast to what AOC, Chris Cuomo, Nancy Pelosi, the whole squad, and just about every other single Democrat pundit in the country was saying about Black Lives Matter. How many clips do we really need to see of Democrats saying you gotta break shit and get people to listen to you? What do you expect when you're being ignored and other such things? In fact, I'm going to, on my computer right now, and this is going to pop up on your screen in just a second, but I just want to be able to read it while I'm up here. So I'm just going to open it up and read it just before I post it up here. All right. So these, what you see now, are pictures of 4 people, including Nancy Pelosi, and the things that they have said in the last 4 years. Some of them during the protests and riots during the summer. There needs to be unrest in the streets. Oh, well, that seems like a really calm thing to say. Protesters should not let up, our new vice president said. I can't believe this useless woman is going to be vice president of the United States. It's totally pathetic. And then, of course, who could forget everybody's favorite congresswoman? If you see anyone from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and create a crowd and you push back on them and you tell them you're not welcome here anymore or anywhere. Does that sound peaceful? Not particularly to me. And of course, dear Nancy, I just don't know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be. Well, there was. 15 to 20 million Americans protested and rioted this summer. Nancy didn't care about it because it was for black people, ostensibly. Corporate America didn't care about it. In fact, corporate America held fundraisers for Black Lives Matter, even as buildings were burning, even as more people died in those riots than what happened in D.C. Fortune 500 companies were gushing with black squares on Twitter and Facebook and sending checks to Black Lives Matter. But now they're offended. Now they're outraged. Because perhaps, 200 or 300 of these people, crazy people nonetheless, got caught up in the mob and went into the Capitol. That's not an excuse. I'm not even certain how many of those are actual Trump supporters and not dressed up. I mean, the guy that's circulating on the web right now who is dressed up as a Viking, he doesn't look like any Trump supporter I've ever seen in my life. And I damn sure know that no Trump supporter planted those bombs that the police found around the Capitol. It's not something a conservative is going to do that's a Trump supporter. It's just not. If it was going to be a conservative that did that, they would have did it just around the DNC. But it was at the DNC and the RNC and elsewhere. That tells me that wasn't a Trump supporter. Now, we'll find out in the days ahead. Most of these people are going to be arrested. Whoever put the bombs down, they will be found. They are always found. And I'm willing to bet that when that person's found, they're going to turn out not to be a Trump supporter. Whether or not they're a part of Antifa or not is a whole nother question. I do know that just last week, Antifa was wrecking stuff in Seattle yet again. But all of a sudden, now the tipping point has been reached. So, what's been the fallout? Well, the first fallout was predictable. Twitter suspended Trump's account, blocked him because of the video that he released in which he called for peace and told people to go home and to respect law enforcement. But because he said the election was stolen, they decided that wasn't good enough and they blocked him, told him he had to get rid of his tweets, and afterward he would be restricted for 12 hours before he could go ahead and post again. Facebook went further. They went and banned him indefinitely from Facebook and Instagram. And just a few hours ago, they announced that ban is going to be for the remainder of his term. That's probably going to remain for the remainder period. I don't see them letting him back on for a mildred of reasons that we're going to get into in this video right here. Let me go ahead and read what Jeff Zuckerberg released in his statement. The shocking events of the last 24 hours clearly demonstrate that President Donald Trump intends to use his remaining time in office to undermine the peaceful and lawful transition of power to his elected successor, Joe Biden, Zuckerberg said. His decision to use his platform to condone rather than condemn the actions of his supporters at the Capitol building has rightly disturbed people in the U.S. and around the world. We removed these statements yesterday because we judged that their effect and likely their intent, because Zuckerberg is also a mind reader, would provoke further violence. Following the certification of the election results by Congress, the priority for the whole country must now be to ensure that the remaining 13 days and the days after inauguration pass peacefully and in accordance with established democratic norms. Now, first of all, if Donald Trump had won, And think about this. The difference in Wisconsin and Ohio was about 21,000 votes in total. So he gets 22,000 votes between those two states, and he's reelected. And if he had been reelected, I think we all know that Washington would have exploded. And Facebook would not be banning a single Democrat, Black Lives Matter activist, or anyone else. I know this personally because on Facebook, I used to get into a whole lot of arguments with liberals, and they could insult me and not get banned. But if I said the same thing to them in reverse, I would be put in Facebook jail. Someone can call me white trash. Now, if you can look at me, you can obviously tell I'm not white. But they can call me white trash, and nothing happens to them. And then I call them black trash, I get thrown in Facebook jail. So we all know the hypocrisy. It's been around for the last 4 years and just ramping up and up and up. Okay, so this is not a surprise. We know that this wouldn't have happened and won't happen in reverse. Okay, but it's gotten worse. And this is what I mean by the purge. And this is what I mean by what the title of this video is, which is, corporate coming at, well, look. Here's what's happening. People who attended the rally are now being fired from their positions. Now, I don't just mean people who were at the rally, part of the riot, and entered the Capitol building. That would make sense to a certain degree, okay? Anybody who posted pictures of themselves at the rally are becoming purged from their companies. A 56-year-old woman who is a real estate agent in Chicago was let go from her company. She works at a company called At Properties, is their Twitter page, and they released a statement. Over the past several hours, At Properties have received a tremendous amount of outreach regarding the actions of one of our agents, Libby Andrews, yesterday in Washington, D.C. Effective immediately, At Properties is terminating this agent who acknowledged on social media that she took part in the, quote, storming of the Capitol. At Properties does not condone violence, destruction, or illegal activities. Now, there's a problem with their statement, okay? Storming the Capitol. Well, what does that mean? Did she actually storm the Capitol? Were those her words? Did she go into the building? According to Libby herself, this was her statement. I am a 56-year-old woman and petite. I was not there causing trouble. I was there to support my president, she added, according to Reuters. So, she was fired. Also, a Texas-based insurance agency who had employed relatively recently a lawyer for the firm was also there. And it said it fired an employee who participated in the storming of the Capitol. Of course, again, you got to put a block here, okay? There's a lot of hypocrisy, and I see legal challenges coming to some of these companies in a couple of weeks here. So here's the thing. You could have went to the rally, went back to your hotel, took pictures of yourself at the rally early in the afternoon, and never went near the Capitol building in terms of going inside. In fact, you might not have even been there when that whole situation started. But yet you're being fired. That's a problem legally, I'm willing to bet. I have some questions into a few lawyers. I haven't heard back from them yet, but I expect that when I interview them, it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Okay? I reached out to Goosehead Insurance, okay, this company right here that let Paul Davis go, okay? Well, first let's go over what Goosehead said in their statement. While we support our employees' right to vote and express themselves politically, we do not condone violent and illegal acts. This former employee's actions are not reflective of our company culture or values, and we are disappointed with his behavior. Now, the question is Is that statement correct? Is that statement accurate? Did that employee, did Paul Davis go into the Capitol building? Did he assault police? Did he start breaking up things or climbing the barriers? Did he do any of those things? If he did, then their statement is appropriate, and it would be appropriate for them to go ahead and fire him. If he didn't do any of those things, then I'm not sure if firing a lawyer incorrectly is the smartest thing to do if you're a business. More importantly, and I reached out to Goosehead Insurance to ask them a few questions. I have not heard back from them as of yet. I called, left a message, didn't get a response, sent an email and didn't get a response. So I'll be forwarding this video to them as well. There are two key questions here. A, as I've already stated, did he do any of the violent things? B, do they have any other employees that attended a Black Lives Matter protest that turned into a riot earlier in the summer? If they did, or if they have an employee who was at one of those rallies, was that employee fired? Same thing for this real estate company, particularly given that this real estate company is based in Chicago. So you know that the makeup of Chicago is overwhelmingly Democratic. So they've got employees that are sympathetic to Black Lives Matter. Did any of those employees go to a Black Lives Matter rally? Because all of those rallies turned for protests for Black Lives Matter. They all turned into riots. Every single one in every single major city. It started mostly peaceful and then turned into a riot. Now, all summer, I heard, well, we can't castigate all the people who want police reform with a few people who decided to start making trouble. That's what I heard all summer. That does not appear to be what the attitude is now from corporate America. Okay? Going forward, there was another employee for a marketing firm who fired an employee who was, again, wearing the company badge while taking part in Wednesday's demonstrations. Now, on that particular employee, the one that they're talking about, and I can't find a picture right now, he is seen inside the Capitol building. So there's no question that he's someplace he does not belong in a capacity that he should not be doing. So they have every right to fire him in that circumstance. The other employees, that's a big question, and more are coming. In addition, Spotify, you've seen the pictures or the commercials, particularly if you look at YouTube, they pop up now and then. There's always some young tech-looking person that's going to tell you how to make a website real quick with Shopify, shopping cart, and all that great nonsense. Well, Shopify closed all websites associated with Trump following the riots. Now, the question is, are these closings permanent? Were they just the shopping cart websites just affiliated with the Trump campaign and Trump specifically? Or were they people who are either supporters of the president or just realize that 75 million people voting for Donald Trump is a large marketplace and they want to sell merchandise, hats, t-shirts, bumper stickers, whatever the case may be, to that 75 million people? Are they also banned? I reached out to Shopify. I called, left a message, sent an email, and Shopify, not surprisingly, doesn't have very much to say to the press. And you have to understand, this is my site, but as a freelancer, I have credentials with other major magazines and news organizations. So I can use any one of those as a calling card, so to speak, to get someone on the phone. Typically, if I don't get someone on the phone, it's because they don't want to talk about it. And I understand it. This is this could blow up in their face, but they're betting, obviously, that it won't. Now, does any of this sound appropriate. Now, I guess that depends on your point of view. If you're a liberal and you're a Democrat, then to you it might seem appropriate because you don't like Donald Trump. And I understand that. The man has certain traits that can be a little bit hard to make him likable. But that's not really the case. This is about intellectual honesty. This is about the rule of law and equal protection and general fairness. Right now, Nancy Pelosi is drawing up yet again articles of impeachment for Trump regarding what happened a couple days ago. Now, Trump did not tell these people to do that. So, by definition, he didn't incite a riot. Secondly, we can pull up on tape of Democrat congressmen and congresswomen actually saying what protesters should do, making excuses for the protesters, and justifying their actions. And we're supposed to just forget that. I mean, it's as if these people don't realize that video exists, that, the internet exists, and we can literally find out what they were saying 3 months ago, 6 months ago, right out in 5 minutes. So I got to tell you, 2021 is not starting off very, very well. And if you are a conservative, if you are a patriot, it's going to get rougher because I expect that we're going to see further. This is what I think might happen coming up here. A number of things. Okay. If Spotify is doing this, then what you might see is other online businesses, for instance, like Stripe, which is a payment processing company. They might decide to stop taking payments for any site that sells anything that has to do with Donald Trump. They've done things like that before. Other companies might start firing employees because you figure, look, there were hundreds of thousands of people at that rally the other day. So that's a lot of employees that were there, and of a lot of employees that were there that didn't do anything wrong. But if their company is looking to be woke, they might in fact end up getting fired. And this is what I think we're going to be looking at least for the foreseeable future. They're going to come hard. And that is going to have a real impact, both economically and certainly socially. Now, I'm expecting to hear back from some of my legal contacts regarding what the options some of these employees or any future employees who have been fired for attending the rally have against their companies. Again, it seems pretty evident to me that if they didn't do anything illegal, they weren't in the Capitol, then the company does not have the legal authority and right to fire them for that reason, and that the company can be sued and that the company will lose. Now, it might be a little bit tricky in certain states if they're a right to work state like Florida is. I believe Texas is as well. Generally, in the right to work state, you can be let go for any reason at any time. Nonetheless, while that might be the letter of the law, certainly when you get into a courtroom and you get into the courtroom of public opinion, there's going to be a problem. If this 56-year-old woman in Chicago can show that she was not doing anything illegal, then she can flip the script on her former company pretty quickly. And they're either going to look really bad or they're going to have to do a payout, one or the other. Now, some of these companies are reacting much in the same way that a lot of these companies reacted when Black Lives Matter occurred. I tell you, this real estate company, it's in Chicago, again, large Democratic demographic, a lot of African Americans in the city. I would not be surprised if this company didn't contribute in some way to Black Lives Matter or didn't release some sort of either corporate message or message publicly in support of police reform and Black Lives Matter and what have you. If they did, and they're doing the exact opposite now, that's a problem for them. I'm not sure if they realize that or not. I suspect they're going to find out relatively soon, however. Now, thanks for listening to the Business Intercept. Like and subscribe. Most importantly, show this video to friends and other people. The crackdown is going to come real soon on YouTube as well for anybody showing and talking about this. In fact, one of the reasons I don't really have a lot of video from the event at the Capitol is because you will literally get banned for showing it, apparently. I could show lots and lots of video of Black Lives Matter burning down buildings and businesses, and that would be fine. But if you're affiliated with Donald Trump, then obviously you're the devil, okay? Also, if you know of anybody, or if you yourself end up watching this video and you have been reprimanded or let go at your company because you attended that rally, please post a message below, send me a direct message on YouTube so that I can get in contact with you. I would like to talk to you. Until the next video, stay safe, and let's hope that we can stop the craziness from getting too bad and too far afield in 2021.